Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy AJ. I'm here with Cypher. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Nets Kingdom One, and check out netskingdom.net. We just dropped a brand new article. So check that out. All your latest on netskingdom.net. So we'll drop that article. But today's video, before we get to the main topic of why do Nets fans want to trade Claxton or what's going on with Claxton? Who's worried about Claxton? We're talking about Claxton, but we want to break down what's going on right now. So we're going live at January 14th, right before the Portland Trail Blazers game. So we have some draft news here. Well, draft schedule. The NBA set the draft schedule. So the draft combine is going to be at May 11th through the 18th. And then the NBA draft lottery is going to be Sunday on May 12th. So Nets fans, circle that on your calendars. Sunday, May 12th is the big day. That's gonna be one of the biggest days as a Nets fan because that's gonna where we're gonna decide our fate, where we're gonna be in the draft, where these lottery balls are gonna put to. So make sure you circle that date. Take the day off if you don't have the day off, if you're a Nets fan, because that's gonna be May. How you feel about that May 12th day, Si, before we get into this?
It might be one of the most important, at least top five important days in Nets history.
Yeah, it
Because
is.
if we get top two, like that's basically because look, Flag and Harper, in my opinion, are basically guaranteed to be stars.
Yeah, yeah. This is gonna be a beautiful 2025 draft. You guys, we don't have to tell you. You guys know that this draft is gonna be insane. So, but before we get to the Claxton, real quick, Sean Marks did talk to the press. He talked to the New York Post, and we had the Sean Marks confirmed about the Nets are tanking. So this is the quote exactly. He said here, "We're going to have to be systematic with some of the decisions we make, and they may not always be in line with winning the next game or putting the most talent out there." So, what were your thoughts about Sean Marks? I mean, I feel like people did know that Sean has leaned into tanking because you look at the obvious moves, getting ring of Dennis, getting ring of DFS, you know, taking out these guys. Look at the injury report every night. You guys know the Nets are in on the tanking, but seeing Sean actually quote it, what was your first thoughts about Sean's quote there about, tanking?
Good. My respect for Sean Marks went up.
Yeah.
He said the thing that he needed to say because even though it was obvious that the Nets were tanking, we traded away all the Suns picks and that Dallas pick to get our own picks back for 25 and 26. Like
Yeah.
it made logical sense. Like you had to capitalize and maximize the value of these picks. So yeah,
Yeah.
it made sense. But you had this discourse on Twitter, on X, about whether or not we should tank.
Yeah.
And I felt Mark felt the need to just certify that we are tanking.
Yeah, because when I saw him at that Utah Jazz game, I was like, "Oh, we're getting a." This was the battle, and if you guys didn't watch that Utah Jazz game, it was. You probably didn't want to watch that. It was absurd, tanking to the highest level. I've literally watched guys subbing out. We watched Isaiah Collier go out the game, come back in, and then the 8-second violation so he could the turnover with the game on the line. We saw overtime. We saw missed layups, smoked layups. It was just insane. But we ended up out taking the Jazz that day. It was crazy, bro.
But dude, that game was like, say what you will about tanking. That game was insanely entertaining.
It was entertaining.
Like
It
so
was.
many things were happening. Like Colin Sexton started cooking in the fourth. Collier
Yeah,
had a career high.
yeah,
He had he fell, hurt himself on a very nice and one dunk.
yeah.
We thought he was out for the game, but apparently that rule doesn't apply for concussion protocol. So he came back in,
Come back in. It was
had this
like,
insane move where he ignored Colin Sexton,
yeah,
went for a driving layup. He lost the ball, and
it
then he
was a
got it
mess.
back up over Claxton, and it was a game winner.
Yeah, the game winner, and then Clax missing that dunk before overtime to seal the win. I think Clax knew. He might have knew. He might have knew because if he makes that dunk, we win the game. But he missed it. We went to overtime. We ended up losing. So credit to Clax for that, missing that dunk. The agenda, keeping the agenda alive.
Oh, and Ben Simmons had like a good game, like 14 points, 9 assists. Like he looked like a good basketball player.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot. We gotta talk about the Ben Simmons quote. I'm glad you brought that up because the Ben Simmons quote was just too funny. It's funny how Ben Simmons is playing out of his mind now. Like this man is making well, he's always been making the crisp passes, but the aggressiveness, we're seeing aggressive Ben now. Like Ben is going to the rim. He's every time he starts the game, the first quarter, I'm like, he has a quick 8 to 9 points. And then we go back in the years of his Nets era, he's barely scoring. He's scared. He's scared to go to the rim, scared to score. But it's like this season, it's like he knows like I guess he knows his contract is coming up and he knows he's got to put on a show. But what do you think the key is to Ben's change in his demeanor now, and the quote about he doesn't want to tank? uh,
So regarding the change in his demeanor, I don't think it really changed. I think it's more
mhm,
so all the scorers are hurt, and the way I think this is me speculating, but the way Ben Simmons thinks is that it's better if these other guys who are better at scoring than me take the shots and I don't take the shots.
yeah,
And those guys aren't there anymore. So
yeah.
the math in his head is like, okay, me taking a shot is better than Keon Johnson taking a shot.
It's like the pressure. I think Ben Simmons with no pressure, we're gonna see the best of Ben Simmons. I guess, and this is, I guess, let me read the quote real quick before. He said, "We've got to go in there like we want to win, regardless of what the front office is expecting." So he even took a shot at the front office. He's like, "We got to go in and win," but you know,
Man, be quiet.
yeah. So it's
You're making $40 million. You live in Brooklyn. But last year, a couple years ago, Kyrie was screaming at you to take a shot. You wouldn't
yeah,
do it. You're always hurt. No, dude, don't ruin our chances at flag. Like Sean,
yeah.
just wave him.
It's like, "Ben, shut the F up," like, but it's like, it's just so funny how this man has a voice now talking about he doesn't wanna take, and he's playing, and then he gets in the game now, and he's scoring a quick 10 and 15 points. But before that, when we needed you the most, Ben, we needed you the most, you didn't show up for us. But now that there's no pressure,
He's the
it's
avatar.
like, yeah, exactly. Now you're all-star Ben Simmons with no pressure. It's just hilarious, man. But yeah, so we're gonna get to this Claxton. Great article. Mind you, you're watching this right now. First of all, hit that like button and check out nextkingdom.net. Site just dropped a great article on Nic Claxton. So the story of Nic Claxton this season, it's like Nets fans, and I'm seeing on Nets Twitter, like there's a overwhelming hatred for Nic Claxton, which I think it's a little bit too much. I understand Nick, and this is my general opinion before we get into the details of this article. I understand Nick is not playing the best basketball of his career, and he's not playing well right now. But it's like the overwhelming hatred. Like I saw a tweet that people want to trade him, or rather Jericho Sims than him, or trade him for a bag of chips. I'm like, all right, guys, like it's not that bad. Like we're supposed to be bad this year. We're supposed to be a tanking team. So it's like, how do you judge Nick's play right now on a team that is consistently being terrible, consistently not playing defense on purpose, or I don't know if it's on purpose or they don't care, or the agenda. Just the whole mantra of the Nets right now is to lose. So it's like people on Twitter and people like Nets fans in general are just very adamant on like trade Clax, trade Clax, trade Clax. Like this is his first year of his contract, and people are just fiending to trade this man. But what are your general thoughts on, before you get into the details, side, the Claxton agenda that you see on Twitter and the hatred you see on socials?
Okay, there are two players Nets fans hate the most on this team,
Yeah.
and they were both drafted: Cam Thomas and Nic Claxton. I don't know why. Like, it doesn't make much logical sense because it should
Mhm.
be the opposite. But with Claxton specifically, I think there was this expectation that he would get better.
Yeah.
And look, he really hasn't. Like, he has regressed.
Mhm.
And I went into this in the article, but there's been a ton of things that have happened,
Yeah.
which make it very difficult to really judge him because, he had his best season 22, 23.
Yeah.
You had Durant, you had Irving, you had all these on ball shot creators, these pick and roll ball handlers, and he looked phenomenal. On
Yeah.
offense, he led the league in field goal percentage.
Yeah.
On defense, he finished ninth in defensive player of the year voting.
Yeah.
You had Durant to help him, clean up the boards, to help protect the rim. It looked great. And then the following year with Vaughn, they ran draw coverage, which was terrible. You
Yeah.
had players giving up. We know Mikal didn't care about the team anymore, and you just didn't really on offense. You had no point guard really.
Yeah. And Let me read his stats real quick, and I'm reading the article. It says 11.8 points, 9.9 rebounds, 2.1 blocks on 63% field goal this year, with a slight regression on defense. Um, and with Claxton too, we know what Claxton is by now, right? We know like he's a shot rim protecting, rolling play finisher, play kind of defensive center that gets alley oops. He needs a point guard. Claxton is one of those guys that needs a point guard to be successful, to be effective. He needs a power forward. Like we saw the KD years, and Cypher mentions this in the article. He needs actually a decent power forward by his side to play to rim protect, get rebounds, just to keep his motor going. So it's like Claxton needs these things to be successful. And although he chose us, right? He chose us even though we're rebuilding, even though we're tanking, he still chose us to resign. And he's not on an insanely paid high contract, but I guess Nets fans are going to be upset because he's not giving you the production that you want for what is it, 20, 25 mil, 22 mil,
Yeah,
22
yeah.
mil a year.
4
Yeah.
years, 100 million,
4 years.
averaging 25.
Yeah, 25 mil, which is not an insane high contract, but Nets fans are gonna look at it like, oh, we're paying you 22 mil to miss layups and not play defense and not do this and not do that. But I'm in my mind, I'm like, I'm not judging Claxton too harshly this year because look at the team around him. You guys got to think about the defensive schemes. Like our defense is terrible because these guys are not really playing hard defense. You know what I'm saying? And look, I'm showing you clips. Claxton has flashes of where he plays good defense. He does. Now, what worries me is the epidural that he had in the injury that the Nets hid from us because we didn't know about this until an interview in the semi 10 games in that Claxton hurt his back in the offseason. We didn't know. We didn't know that happened. And then he came out in an interview. He said he hurt his back. They said he had an epidural. That worried me too. That was like, okay, that's kind of random. You just don't come out with an epidural on your back injection and just we can't just like move on from that. You know what I'm saying? But he continued to play. He looked really slow in the beginning of the year. Like he didn't look. I noticed the difference right away. I'm like, something's wrong with him. Like he's not moving as fast. He's not as fluid. Then he went through a 3-game stretch, and I went through the stats with Saif. He had a 21 game, 10 rebound. This is where he destroyed the Bucks, and he was blocking Giannis, locked up Brook. He killed Brook this game. Was looking great offensively. And then the next game he had like 16 and 8. Next game he had like 11 and 8, 11 and 9, 2 blocks. So he had a stretch where we're like, oh, Clax is back. Clax is back. And then we get to the midway of the year, Dennis gets traded. And then he's Clax. That's what I was saying about the point guard. He needs a point guard. Dennis gets traded. It just regressed again. DFS gets traded. DFS is one of our best perimeter defenders, probably the second best after Clax on this team. He gets traded, and it clacks another regression. So we're seeing the regression during the season, and I think with your article, what do you think that um what do you expect from Clax this year? Like what are you thinking Nets fans are expecting? What are you thinking like do you think the Nets are trading thinking about trading Clax this year? I'll say that.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I know the Nets are really tight-lipped about this, but we've heard basically nothing on Claxton being traded.
Yeah.
Like we got DFS rumors, we got the Schroeder rumors, we have Johnson rumors, almost nothing on Cam Thomas, and almost nothing on Claxton. So I
Yeah.
think he's here to stay. Look, he's still super young. I think he's 25.
Yeah,
We
he's
just
25, yeah.
re-signed him.
Yeah.
He's homegrown. He's proven with Durant and Irving that he can play with stars and play very well.
Yeah.
I think with Claxton, the concern is we're basically 2 years into this
Mhm.
post the star era, and he just hasn't looked as good.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this season, even if you account for the fact that he's playing less minutes, like on a per minute basis, like he's averaging career lows.
Yeah.
Well, not career lows in points since 21, 22. He's averaging less blocks. He's averaging less assists. Or actually, no, he's averaging more assists.
Mhm.
That some of that is just Jordy's like offense. He's acting more as a hub. So you've seen some slight improvements there.
Yeah.
The field goal percentage is alarming. Like
Yeah.
he's shooting 55% from the field. And this is a guy who basically takes all shots around the rim.
Yeah.
But as you said, like we traded Schroeder. Cam Thomas is hurt,
Cam Thomas
and
hurt, yeah.
all the scorers are gone, and you need a pick and roll ball handler
Yeah.
because Claxton's a roll man. So that part you can excuse.
Yeah.
The defensive effort, on the other hand, has been very inconsistent this year.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And he can play better. He can rebound better. But it's like in this season, and I said this before we started this season too, I'm not so harsh on judging players. Yes. Do I want to see development? Yes. Do I want to see Clax keep shooting jumpers? Yes. Do I want to see him keep shooting threes, keep being aggressive? Do what you do in practice, like the things that you want to experiment on. This is the season because we're supposed to lose. We're supposed to be terrible. We're supposed to be bad. Do whatever it takes to get that experience of shooting in game, get your offensive moves that you work on. This is what I want to see in this season. I'm not judging him like, oh, he has to have, I want Clax to average 20 and 10 this year. I'm not going to be judging that because I know this is a year I want him actually to be, don't be good because I want to be, I want to lose. I want Dylan Harper. I want Cooper Flag. So I don't want you to exceed, but I still want development. It's just a weird thing. It's a weird season to judge. You get me? It's like a weird season to judge because it's like, I want development, but I also don't want to win. So it's like,
I mean, in a rebuild,
yeah,
that's the thing. You don't want to be too good, of course,
yeah,
but you want to see development. You want to see him flourish at the things he's good at.
yeah,
And look, the offense. You look, I've accepted that Claxton has his limitations on offense.
yeah,
Like obviously, I want to get better, but I'm not really going to destroy him for not being a good 3-point shooter. I think that ship has sailed.
yeah, yeah. Like we
Defensively,
know Clax
though,
is not a shooter. We know he's not a shooter. Yeah.
yeah. Defensively, though, it just I think we just got to rediscuss Claxton's ceiling as a defender because
Mm,
a couple years ago, he was in DPOY discussions, but his team defense, it's just not that good. His on-ball switch defense is elite. Like he is probably best in the NBA at that.
yeah.
But his post defense, his rim protection, like he's not Gobert. You can't put him on a team
Mhm.
and expect him to be, carry you to a top 10, top 15 defense. Like you got to have other players around him. You got to have a good scheme. Like
Yeah.
he could be a part of a top 10 defense,
Yeah.
but he by himself just isn't that.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. And he needs, like I said, he needs with defense, it's like you could be I think he's just a great on-ball defender. And then when it comes to rim protection, you're right. He's gonna need a forward that's gonna rim protect also and rebounding too. He needs a guy that can rebound. But this is
If you
Mhm,
push Claxton out to the perimeter,
mhm,
like you need somebody else to clean up the mistakes.
yeah. And I think this is what Nets fans are forgetting. It's like you guys want to trade Clax, trade Clax, trade Clax. I'm not ready to give up on Clax yet because it's like our team next year is going to be we're going to have a brand new slate. All these guys are going to be gone, and we're going to have rookies on this team. The beauty of roster construction, right? You have to draft multiple centers, multiple bigs. And this is what Sean Marks' problem is. He loves this small ball. He loves drafting. He loves having a team full of 10,000 wings, one point guard, and a center. It doesn't work like that. You got to have multiple bigs. You know what I'm saying? A 4, a 5, at least 3 bigs out of your team. So this way, Clax is not the end all be all. If Clax is playing bad, you have your second guy, you have your 7-foot guy, and you have another power forward that you can manipulate the lineups in, or you can switch Clax and Clowney in, or you can manipulate, just pick and choose the centers. And they're great centers in this draft. This is why I said if we don't get a point guard and center in the draft, I'm gonna be very upset at Sean Marks. He should draft another big that excels in Claxton's weaknesses and Clowney's weaknesses. You know what I'm saying? Another guy that's those strength, like their weaknesses, the guy he drafts, it should be that his strength. Rebounding, guys that can create in the post, a different type of look, a variety of a center and a power forward that we can put on this team. So we don't have Claxton to be the end all be all and he's just the most hated guy because he's the end all. He's the only center that's available. You know what I'm saying? It's
I know with Claxton,
Mhm.
it's just and look, I agree with all those things.
Yeah,
You just got to be a little bit better though. Like it
yeah,
is just true. Like I
yeah,
know we have guys that got to cover his weaknesses, but
mhm,
at the end of the day, he does. Like the free throw shooting needs to be a little bit better.
yeah, a lot better. Yeah,
Like, that is like the biggest problem. And I want to see him take advantage of his speed because one of the benefits of being that size, like that frame, is
yeah,
that you can move better than other bigs, and he's good at using that speed on defense. I want to see him use it on offense more.
Yeah.
Like I want to see him beat guys off the dribble. I want to see more fake DHOs. I think he could have a pretty decent driving game or a transition game if he really just focuses on it.
Yeah. And I disagree. I want Claxton to be better. And the Nets fans want to trade him. I'm not against trading Clax, but before you do that, I want to see Clax with Dylan Harper point guard and then maybe AJ DeBanston next year. Or I
Also,
want
trade him for who?
yeah, exactly. Trade him for who? That's what I'm saying. These guys talk about trade, trade, trade. It's like I want to see Claxton actually have play meaningful basketball like he was in 2022 because that was meaningful basketball and have great players beside him. And that's it. That's after we
And
draft, you know?
for the fans that are worried about his money, like the Nets have so much cap space.
Yeah. We're
His
gonna
money, like if you trade him, like what are you gonna do with $100 million worth of cap space?
yeah, we have 100 million in cap space. That's what I'm saying. It's not even about the contract. I don't think with Nets fans. It's just I don't think they just don't like him. You know, same with like sometimes you see Cam Thomas. People just don't like Cam Thomas, or don't like Clax, and they just want to trade these guys for I don't know what it is. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about this. Like, how do you feel about Claxton this year? Are you judging him? Do you want to trade him? Do you hate him? Do you like him? Do you want to give him a chance? Let us know in the comments how you guys feel about Claxton. We'll see. We'll see what we're on about to play the Blazers right now, late game. So I think CJ and D'Lo are about to play, so we might actually win this game by the time you see this video. So let us know in the comments how you guys feel about the Clax news or the Clax stigma. How you guys feel about that? And appreciate it. Check out netskingdom.net. Hit that like button. The article on Claxton is on netskingdom.net, and follow us on Instagram, netskingdom1. And appreciate you guys. Hit that like button, and we'll be back with more content. Appreciate you guys.